Hey guys, Wyatt here, the Coastal Agent. Hey, I've been asked a few times, with the subject of inflation, what are the impacts that it has on the market for housing, and is it a good idea to buy with inflation coming about? So, what are we waiting for, guys? Let's jump in. All right, so during inflationary times, the cost of all goods across the board are going to increase. That's kind of, even if you look at like the used car market right now, that's what's going on is, people are selling their cars practically for what they paid for them after 4 or 5 years of use. So they're pretty much making money on a depreciating asset. Housing is not immune to that either. We're going to see, price increases across the board, either whether it be purchasing or renting. We're seeing rent prices are pretty much equal to what a mortgage payment is. So I think, if you look at that question, I think long and short, purchasing still is a good idea in this market, because what you're going to do is lock in that payment. So rents are going to continue to increase, and there's no way, because population growth is inevitable, and demand is going to continue to put pressure on that rental market. Whereas if you get a 30-year fixed rate, you're locking in the largest portion of your expenses, which is housing, and 95% of that's going to be the principal and interest. Now, sure, you're going to have some increase in property taxes and insurance, things that are not fixed, but like I said, 95% of that payment is going to be the principal and interest of the mortgage payment. So in essence, buying now locks you into that so that you fix most of your housing costs. And as I mentioned, the other angle is that, pricing is going to increase. It's going to appreciate in value in the purchase. So you'll be able to reap the benefits of that equity gain that you're going to get, as opposed to if you look back, after renting for years and years, you've got nothing to show for it. So obviously that's pretty much a no-brainer. The thing, as I mentioned, in the market right now, we're still seeing historically low interest rates. We're hovering around 3 to 3.5%, depending on which program and down payment you have. Those are historically really good interest rates, and those are projected to go up as with inflation. Typically, interest rates increase. So that is something to kind of put a little motivation to you. If you are considering buying, it might be a better time to do that sooner than later, so that you can take advantage of those low interest rates. Now, I still think that, the housing market has plenty of room to grow. The other thing is that typically real estate is considered a good hedge against inflation, because they're not making any more of that. See, all these other goods and services that are going to increase in price, there's an unlimited supply in essence. Resources available to make new goods, whereas land, they're not making any more of it. So that's typically considered a good hedge against the inflation. Again, with population growth and constraints on the housing market here in San Diego, they're just not making any more units, or very limited amount of units. So, I think the only thing that it might not be a good idea to consider purchasing now is if you have a short term plan, as far as maybe you have a job transfer expected, or you're not going to be in the area for, anything if you're staying in the house for less than 3 years, it might not be a good idea, because the cost of selling, you have closing costs, and the time frames in which doing so, it might be adverse to you making that purchase. If you guys need a little bit more in-depth information onto your current situation, you know where to reach me. I'm always here and available, 619-200-3236, or on the web at sdcoastalagent.com. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Make it a great day.